Hey everyone, today I'm going to be reviewing my new MOC Stalker. He took about 7 hours to build and he's upwards of 500 pieces, and I would say he's probably my favorite MOC I've ever built. His head took about an hour and 30 minutes of the build, since it does have probably over 100 pieces maybe. It took a while to get a lot of the right shapes in and to get it exactly how I wanted it. But to kick off the review, I'll start off with a size comparison. Here he is up to my current tallest MOC and just an average sized MOC. This one's been up for about 8 months, and I built him 3 weeks ago. And he has more of the dense Technic design like him, rather than using a lot of CCBS joints like on this guy. I like CCBS because that's what I grew up with, but now that I'm older and I can build more complex things with Technics, I enjoy doing a lot of Technic limbs. And he really shows off a lot of good Technic limbs along with this guy. I believe he only uses one CCBS joint on the neck, but it's covered up by a Lego tire. As you can see, the top of his back comes just barely above his elbow. It comes to about right there. So he's probably a little bit taller than I intended, but I'm perfectly fine with his height because it makes him more intimidating. I'll go ahead and take him out of the shot so we can get down to more of the minute details and get into the actual review. I'll go ahead and start off with the tail. So the thought behind this whole entire MOC was that I was trying to make him look like he was from a junkyard, and I think I actually accomplished that goal by just making him super random in some parts and using a lot of darker colored techniques, and by making his color scheme varied. The tail adds a good 8 inches, I would say. It's not super detailed, but it looks good enough. It's kind of almost like a rat tail, and I don't really know. I would just put it together at the very end just to slap it on the back of him just because I thought he needed a tail. I used a lot of this dark brown color throughout the build just to give it kind of a weathered look. Now moving on to the back legs, since there's not really anything else I can show you on the tail. The legs were the first thing that I built on this MOC, just because I wanted to start off with the legs because I thought they'd be pretty hard, but they turned out to be a lot easier to build than I expected. I gave him 3 jointed legs just like a dog, just to get as many dog-like features as I could, because he is very robotic looking, and so I just wanted to make sure that I got the point across that he was supposed to be like a robotic dog. I really like the 3 jointed legs. I've actually used this design before, not exactly, but the overall shape, and they work very well. All the joints can move, and I probably won't ever use this specific pose right here because it looks bad, but I might move it to about there, but I probably won't extend it all the way because that looks kind of weird. Also, I added this gear piece because I like to watch those move. They look cool. Seeing all the different holes move positions. It does absolutely nothing, but it just looks cool. And then this joint down here, pretty much, it doesn't have a piston or anything, but it's still stable. And I like the legs because they just look pretty good. I actually started off with them just because I thought they were going to be pretty hard. Also, I have this piston up here, which it doesn't do a whole lot. It basically just connects it to the body. If you watch it, it barely goes in. I wish it kind of flexes that piece, but if this piece was completely in place, the piston actually moves. It's just this piston piece is so stiff. So instead of the axle actually going in and out, it basically just pushes this piece right here. But that can be avoided if I work on it more, I think. If I just completely surround this piece right here, it should make the axle go in and out. Or if I just give this a way looser axle to where, piston to where the axle will slide easier. Hopefully. Maybe that'll work. If I fix it, I will make a separate video. And now I'll show you the other back leg because it is slightly different. It's a darker color and it's basically the same. It has this wire going around it. It has the same bionicle foot piece that this leg has, just in a different color. And also, I didn't use a gear piece right there. It doesn't look quite as cool, but I still like it. The legs add a lot of support, actually, which really helps because this MOC is very heavy. Now, moving on to the front legs. Both of them are different, so I'll just go ahead and start off with this one. It looks pretty good. I put that gear piece again right there, and it looks pretty good. It's very simple. I've never used this design before, but also I don't really build that many beasts. This is actually the first completely Technic beast that I've built. And I don't really know the reasoning behind that, because now that I'm better at building than I used to be, I don't know why I haven't tried a monster until now. It's probably just because building beasts is way harder than building actual characters. I do like this front leg, though. It's simple. It's probably 50 pieces, honestly, maybe less, but it gets across what it's going for. The front leg does not have a piston, just because it doesn't actually need one. And I added this CCBS armor plate piece. So I guess that's another CCBS piece on it. But it looks pretty good. I like the shaping of the shoulder that it gets across. And it does slightly swivel if I can ever get it back onto that piece. There we go. I got it back on. But it does slightly swivel. That's okay. Just, I don't like how it does that all the time. I could put a wire going across the top that would completely stop that from happening. But I think it's fine. And now we'll go ahead and move to the other front leg. It's basically exactly the same, minus the fact that it uses a few darker colors. And this Bionicle armor plate right over here in silver, I was trying to find one in black for this side to match, but I couldn't because I used two of them up here. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see that, but there's one used right here and one used right here. And so I didn't have any more because I used them all up on previous MOCs. And the last two in black I had, I used right there. So unfortunately, I couldn't make it match. But actually, it turned out in the end, just all these Technic pieces that I put right there wound up looking probably better than this side over here, in my opinion. Overall, the legs look pretty good. They actually turned out better than I expected. And I like just their overall appearance and how they look kind of rugged and mechanical. They work well. He stands up very well. I'm glad he doesn't just topple over. His legs are way more sturdy than I ever thought they would be. Now moving on to the body, which took up about 3 hours of the build, I would say. The body just started off with two long Technic beams that cross and connect about right there, I would say. And I really like how it looks. It's probably one of the most complex bodies I've actually built, which is kind of funny to say, because this guy right here, he has a very complex stomach, but he just has way more pieces, and I had to modify him so many times. A few days ago, I posted a video about the complications that I was having with this MOC. I'll have to take the head off to show y'all exactly what I'm talking about. So basically what my problem was this black Rakshi cell piece. I was trying to make it slope down along with this piece right here to where the head would connect about right there. But unfortunately, I didn't exactly think it through. So how the Rakshi cell piece works is these two pieces just kind of snap together. But unfortunately, they'll just pop off, which is too bad. And so I didn't account for the weight of the head, which, as you can see, it's a pretty heavy head. So for both of these just clicking off, basically what I did was I put a few wires over the top of this, but still the wires weren't strong enough, so it was always cracked open about that far. And so if you move the head too much, it would just completely come apart. And somebody posted in the comments a quick mod for it, and it's basically you just put a half pin right there, and then you can put a Lego piece right over that, and it will keep this part from popping out. So if this part won't pop out, then obviously this one won't come along with it. But the complication was this piece wasn't used in my MOC, unfortunately. So it was just these two pieces right here, not the middle one. So without this piece, you don't have that hole, and without that hole, you can't put the half pin in the Lego piece to close it all up. So basically what I did was I was just like, okay, I'm going to completely change the upper body right there, and I just put the cell backwards, and I just connected it using a different piece. So basically, I took up about 30 to 40 minutes of my time just being very dumb about how to connect the head. I shouldn't have used this Rakshi head piece to try to connect it, but that was just a lesson learned. If I ever do use a Rakshi head like this to actually connect the head of my monster, then I'll be sure to include this piece. I could have included this piece right here, but I would have had to redone a bunch of stuff, and this is way simpler, and I think it actually looks a lot better. I'll just leave the head off for now, so it'll be easier to review the body. I started off I really wanted to use these Bionicle Bear Trap pieces. I know that's probably not their actual name, but I like the piece. I probably should actually learn the term because I need to order more. And I believe they're from the 2016 or maybe the 2017 Bionicle Wave. They look pretty good, and I like how I used them on this specific MOC. Now I'll just go ahead and continue with the review of the body. I like these Bionicle Bear Trap pieces that I used. I think those are from the Bionicle 2016 Wave, maybe 2017. I can't remember exactly. But it has the bear trap on this side too. The detailing that I put in here is barely different. Like, some of the colors are a little bit different and a few different pieces are used. I like all of the mechanical pieces that I put there. I think they look very good. It took me probably about 5 minutes to get all those details in there just right, how I liked them. If you notice, I've put a lot of different colored wires on this MOC. My favorite wire detail are probably these black ones that run right along there. Then I like some of these interior wires that kind of curve inwards. This green wire right here is my least favorite one. It's just a little bit off. I'm thinking about replacing it with maybe an orange. These orange are only in, I believe, 1.0 with rotor and vapor. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that's where I get most of my orange wires is from rotor and vapor. Turning them around back, I have put a very cool detail in my opinion. I love these little macaroni pieces, as some people call them. I love that piece, and so I like using it anywhere I can. And right there, I don't know why, it just looks good to me. It's one of the most hidden details just with all the wires running along it, but I think it's one of my favorite for no specific reason at all. I honestly don't know why I like that detail so much. I just don't have that many. I have like 4 in black, 4 in gray, 2 in black, and 2 in yellow. So since I don't have that many, I use them sparingly, so when I do use them, that's probably why I like how they look. I used this big Bionicle shield piece on the bottom just to cover up a lot of the stomach, and it turned out looking pretty good. I also really like this black wing piece that I put right there on both sides. It looks pretty nice. I put 2 little exhaust ports right there on each side. I think those look pretty good. I also put a few gear pieces to simulate a spine. Originally, before I had this big Rakshi cell piece right there, it extended all the way to about there. So it looked a lot better, but it's okay with it all being covered up. This was actually pretty easy once I got to the stomach, because it was basically just make it look as messy as possible, and it'll most likely turn out looking good. Right here, if you can see under this wing piece, it's kind of just blank in there. It has a few supporting Technic pieces that just kind of support the frame, I guess, is what I'm looking for. This might be hard to explain, but I used a few triangular building techniques. If you can see, these come out at an angle, and from this point on is basically just a triangle. It doesn't look like it because it has so much just junk on it, but it was actually kind of hard to get a lot of those triangular building techniques in because I just haven't built a lot of things with triangular shapes. So that was one of the main complications, just getting all of the details right. He really is an impressive MOC. I like a lot of the details. If I could do something over again, I would probably just find some way to where the pistons could move more like pistons actually do and not pull on the pieces. But besides that, I really like how he looks. Now moving on to my favorite part, the head. So this head is probably the best brick-built head that I've ever made, or I guess Technic-built head. I like how all of the teeth are very jagged and it's very random. I wish I could find another black Technic piece to put in the place of that red one and that red one down there, just because I kind of wish his head was all dark colors, but unfortunately I couldn't find those. I had to build in a triangular fashion, which it actually turned out a lot better than I expected. I like all of the different angles that I got in there, and the head is pretty effective in my opinion. Unfortunately, this folds open, and so does that, which that is very unfortunate. I'm sure I could fix it, but it doesn't happen that much unless you literally just make it go up, but I probably should work on a fix for that. I added this tire piece around the neck because without it, it was very skinny, and I did not want that. I added this piece down here just because I needed a Technic to go through there, but I wasn't going to put a red one through there since I didn't like how it looked, so I just put that brown piece in place. Now I'll connect the head to the body so you can see what it looks like with everything attached. This is definitely my most menacing MOC up right now, and he's probably my favorite beast I've ever built. But then again, I haven't really built that many beasts in recent years, which I should start building more because I'm very happy with how he turned out. I am hoping to use him in a few stop motions, and I hope to keep him up for a long time. I don't plan on ever breaking him as it stands right now, but that could all change very soon. I'm very pleased just with how he turned out, and I think he shows off a lot of very impressive Technic work. And a year ago, I definitely couldn't have built something this cool, and I'm very glad he turned out as good as he did. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe and leave a comment down below.